Since today I'm going to tell you how to mark these salient bony landmarks while we are examining a hip joint case, I would also like to emphasize that the patient needs to be adequately exposed before we embark upon examining the hip joint. Now, what do we mean by adequate exposure? Well, as far as a male candidate is concerned, he should be dressed only in the undergarment, which preferably should be a Frenchy type of an underwear, and he should not be wearing anything on the torso or the leg. As far as a female candidate is concerned, please be advised that do not embark upon examining a female candidate unless you have a staff nurse, a lady staff nurse in attendance, or a female relative. Along with this, adequate exposure for a female would be that she should be dressed in an undergarment, underwear, as well as the brassiers. And she should be totally walled off by using several screens. If you are examining the patient in the ward, no other patient should be able to see her. Well, with this preamble, I would like to start marking the bony landmarks. The important bony landmarks proceeding from proximal to distal would be that we would like to first mark the xiphisternum because it's an important bony landmark, a reference point for marking or measuring apparent limb length in a hip joint case. So for this, the best way is, since it is winter month and it is quite cold in the room, I have deliberately not removed the t-shirt in this patient, but preferably the t-shirt should also not be there. Start palpating the sternum and move distally to a point where there is loss of resistance, loss of bony resistance, and this should be marked with a skin marking pencil or a pen, and this should be clearly delineated on the patient. Well, another thing which I want to emphasize is that please do not forget to carry a permanent marker along with you, because at the end of the examination, when you present the patient to the examiners, all the markings should be in place, and this proves that you have examined the patient in detail and you are confident about the markings which you have made. So the first bony landmark which I am demonstrating is the xiphisternum, and we have already marked it. Well, in your textbooks or reference books, it is mentioned that umbilicus can also be used for the purposes of measuring apparent limb length. However, this being a mobile landmark, it is discouraged to be used in the presence of a normal xiphisternum. In those cases in which there is some distortion in this particular area, maybe due to an osteomyelitic sternum or extending into the xiphisternum area, only in those cases I would recommend umbilicus to be used. Hereafter, as I said, moving distally, the second important bony landmark is the anterior superior iliac spine. It is quite simple to mark it if you follow the standard recommendations. And the standard recommendation is that you first feel the pubic tubercle, try to feel the pubic tubercle, and from the pubic tubercle you trace the ligament, the inguinal ligament proximally. And as you reach the first bony landmark, the first bony point, this is the anterior superior iliac spine. There is another method also that you trace the iliac crest distally. and then you reach an area where there is loss of resistance or the bony landmark ends. So both these methods are useful for marking the anterior superior iliac spine. Again, using the permanent marker, please mark like a cross, and sometimes we also circle it. The same marking should also be made on the contralateral anterior superior iliac spine. And to give you a further tip, one of the two methods that I have told you, you need to practice, and in your day-to-day examination you can master that technique of marking the anterior superior iliac spine. So this side I am not circling it because it's optional. And if you mark in a cross, this gives you the exact reference point where the tape is to be put while you are marking you're measuring the true length of the true limb length in the patient of hip joint pathology. Well, again, following the same sequence, moving distally, the landmark which needs to be now marked is the tip of the greater trochanter. Again, palpate the lateral femoral cortex, move proximally, and you will palpate the ridge of the base of the trochanter. Again, moving further, you will reach a point where there will be a loss of bony resistance, and this is the tip of the trochanter. Again, you need to mark it. To mark it. Again, the same cross is to be put, and this is the tip of the greater trochanter. Well, friends, moving distally, we can mark the medial malleolus now for purposes of measuring or estimating limb length. Marking the medial malleolus, I'll show you on the opposite side for the sake of clarity. The camera will pick it better. Again, you can either start distally, move proximally, and the first bony landmark is the tip of the medial malleolus. Tip of the medial malleolus, and this is what we are interested in. You can also do palpation in the reverse direction where there is a loss of resistance of the bone, and this would be the tip of the medial malleolus. In some instances, we can mark the knee joint line or the adductor tubercle to facilitate segmental measurement of the limb, where we can measure the thigh length as well as the leg length separately to pick up if there is an infratrochanteric shortening. We need to define whether it is in the thigh segment or in the leg segment. And for this, as I said, the adductor tubercle is a useful landmark, and this is a distinct bony outgrowth which can be palpated easily. Again, from proximal to distal, you can pick it up and mark it. Dr. Bhasin has, in his demonstration of knee joint, he has advised you to mark the medial joint line, and this also we can mark in case you want to take the length up to the medial joint line. So this is how we make the bony landmarks.